Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Perfect. Hi. Hey, Patricia.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi,
Hi, everyone.
everyone.
Welcome to our first Mental Health Mondays with the Estrada Sisters. Thank you so much for joining. If you're watching live and in the future, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Veronica Estrada. I'm a life coach and I'm now based in Atlanta. I grew up in South Central in LA, and this is my sister, Patricia.
Hi, I'm Patricia. I also grew up in South Central, obviously. And now I live in Florence, Italy, with my Italian husband. And I am breaking into the writing field, but have done many other things, which we can talk about another time.
Excellent. So the purpose of today's call is, or today's IG Live, thank you so much for joining, was we are going to talk about intergenerational trauma. So what you can expect from the conversation today is we're going to give you the definition of generational trauma, and then I'm going to interview Patricia, and she's going to answer, how did it show up for her? What's been one of the easiest ways to address generational trauma? What's been one of the biggest challenges in addressing intergenerational trauma? And then what advice does she have for others who may be realizing that this is something that they're dealing with as well? And so with that, and if time permits, right, we'll go through all those questions. In the meantime, if you have any questions or you want to share your story with us, feel free to do so in the chat. And I will start with the definition of generational trauma. And I found this on health.com, and it says that it is exactly what it sounds like. It's trauma that isn't just experienced by one person, but extends from one generation to the next. It can be silent, covert, and undefined, surfacing through nuances and inadvertently taught or implied throughout someone's life from an early age onward. And basically, another thing that I read, it said that being systemically exploited, enduring repeated continual abuse, racism, and poverty are all traumatic enough to cause genetic changes. And also, people who have experienced years of war also are predisposed to having this type of trauma. So,
can we just take a deep breath real quick? Let's just take a deep breath after that definition, because when I heard you say, what's some of the easiest ways to deal with it, let's just be real here. It's not easy to deal with this. And that's okay. That's okay. The most important thing, I think, is to recognize that it exists, and do what you can with it. So anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I thought it was really important to start off with saying, I'm a little bit nervous. It's 9 p.m. here. I just scarfed down my dinner. Do I have anything in my teeth? No.
Good. Yeah, I'm nervous too,
I've got this beautiful filter on because I'm going to put my PJs on after this and go to bed. So
yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I know it's late on your side.
Yeah, it's 9 p.m. here. But anyway, we're going to keep this short, like we said. It's not something that can be discussed in a 10 to 15 minute conversation. But we're going to start the conversation now because that's the point of this series, that we wanted to do this because we want to destigmatize talking about these things, these difficult things. And if any of you follow me on my Instagram, difficult conversations are my jam. Not because they're easy, but because that's where the growth happens. So go ahead, sister, with the first question.
Yeah. So how did generational trauma show up for you? As in, when did it become crystal clear that that's what you were dealing with, that you were dealing with something that's been passed down through generations?
Okay. So I don't think that I can personally speak about this without addressing the fact that therapy has been absolutely fundamental for my growth and healing. Had I not, had a therapist for the last 3 years, I started therapy when I came to Italy, well, a couple of years after I moved here, and I was just like constantly blowing up, like, because moving to a new country is extremely triggering, in a lot of ways, especially because I am brown,
Okay.
but I'm American. And so I was constantly asked, where are you from? Where are you really from? And so that was something that was difficult for me. And so the therapy basically helped me realize that I had lots of emotions to deal with, lots of things inside of me to deal with. And little by little, I began to practice mindfulness without even knowing it. I began dedicating time to myself. And that's when I started to realize that a lot of the triggers that I had were due to generational trauma. And so there's, I don't even want to talk about any of the sexual aspects of that this time around. I just want to talk about, like, that's a deeper subject that we can definitely get into
I
as
didn't even
these
know that was
conversations
going to be
go
touched
on.
on.
Yeah, I know. We didn't even talk about that because we've never talked about it before, but that's why we're having these conversations now.
Right.
Because that kind of sexual trauma can also live on and be passed on. And that's why, and of course, also then you have your environment, which only, heightens it depending on where you're living, what kind of experience you're having. So, so just to talk about the basic kind that I noticed, it was a lot of constantly being ready to fight, constantly being ready to go, to be attacked, whether it be verbally, physically, or both. That was one of the times when I really, really, truly realized that that's what I was experiencing. My husband and I got into several arguments because of my anxiety being on 1000 when we would be walking home at night. Florence is a very, very safe city. Relatively speaking, every city has its sketchy areas. Every city has its messed up places, whatever. Because I don't want anybody to jump on here and be like, we gotta get disclaimers nowadays. But yeah, so I got into several arguments with my husband while we were walking home, where I would be like, if we were to get attacked right now, how would you react? What would you do? And it's like, it's just like, he would be like, run. And I'd be like, and what if they grabbed us and we couldn't run? Like, so like I expected him to, and I'm talking about like this with several, okay.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
I talked to my therapist about this, and I told her, like, and I see Jocelyn on here saying like survival mode kicks in. It sure as hell does. And so yeah, poor Salvatore, my poor husband, was like trying to deal with me, but he never had to deal. He doesn't have that specific kind of trauma. He has his own intergenerational trauma, but not that kind.
Right.
And so, so I guess to answer your question, that was when it became crystal clear to me. I mean, it's not so easy to just pinpoint one specific, but I guess that's the one that I'm going to leave you with for today, because we already are at 9:10. So we want to keep going.
I hear you. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned already one of the easiest ways to address it is by, you mentioned two things: having a therapist that you talk to. I know she also specializes in EMDR, I believe. So that's a therapy you will definitely want to look up after this live, EMDR therapy. So you did talk therapy, EMDR, and then practicing mindfulness and talking about it, knowing that like this is something that you're feeling and putting it out there.
Exactly.
So what's been one of the biggest challenges in addressing it?
To be honest, I think that the most difficult thing has been my desire. I'm still working on this, but my desire for our own parents to understand that this is something real that they are traumatized, like our parents, you know, and not just you and I's parents, but immigrant parents in the United States.
Yes.
You know,
Our
from
parents, the collective
yes,
immigrant experience parents.
exactly. So our parents, a lot of them have never had the privilege of even like acknowledging that they went through some real shit. Okay.
Yeah. Some really
And
traumatic,
so
horrible stuff. And
yeah.
they just take it in stride because they're just like, this is what we signed up for. Like, our families had it harder. So this isn't even that
Exactly.
bad. This is nothing compared to El Salvador.
Oh
This is
my gosh.
nothing.
Please stop. You're like literally triggering me right now because that is what's made it the hardest. I'm working on it every single day. So there's two aspects, right? Number one, it's the fact that okay, what you were saying just now, like this is nothing, right? What I am going through is nothing compared to what my parents went through. So I'm sure that they think that, right? Our parents think that, but in turn, I have inherited that habit of then saying, you know, how dare I? How dare I feel, you know, all this pain and hurt? Like I have it good.
I
You
have it
know,
so easy.
I have it so easy. I didn't have to fight for my life literally, you know? I mean, not in the same way that they did. We could get into that another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the number one thing that made it difficult was me telling myself that like I needed to toughen up and just deal with it because I had no business. Like I felt, and to this day, I still feel guilt because I get to heal, whereas my parents and grandparents and great grandparents never got that opportunity at all. So
Yeah.
that's what's made it most difficult, but that's what therapy has helped with the most. You know, it's guilt it's unnecessary, you know, it's not my fault, and that's
Right.
where EMDR therapy has really come into play. EMDR is eye movement desensitization, EMDR, and then I'm not sure what the R stands for. You'll look it up if you guys are interested. Look it up. But essentially, what it is it's a therapy that involves your eyes moving rapidly, and it essentially it replicates the REM sleep cycle, which is where your body processes emotions and everything that you're going through. And so when you're doing EMDR therapy, it makes your body believe that you're sleeping and that you're able to process this situation. So the way that my therapist has done it, and her name's Patricia Alvarado. You can find her at Alvarado Therapy. Shout out to Patty. Yes, my therapist's name is also Patricia. Coincidence? I think not. So,
thank you.
Yeah, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Thank you, Jocelyn. I appreciate you so much. EMDR. And we will post this on here, and we'll keep talking about this. But anyway, so it's really helped me. So what she does, and again, I'm pretty sure that this is what the process is that we pull up the emotion that I'm having difficulty with, or the memory, or whatever it may be.
Right.
And so she asks on a scale of 1 to 10, how disturbing is this for you right now? And sometimes it's been an 11. You know, most of the time it's at around a 10 or 8 or something like that. But you do this eye movement thing, and we've been doing this remotely, so you can really do it from anywhere. I mean, ideally it would be in person, but you know, sometimes you can't get in there. So little by little, for me, it tends to go down, and then at one point she decides when. I hold the thought in my mind, and then she has me visualize I'm okay as I am. And she's had me do it, visualize it as like a ribbon. Okay, so the thought exists, the experience exists, but I'm okay as I am. And so that's what's really helped me to
Process.
improve, yeah, to process
Mhm.
this, to, you
Yeah.
know, it's an ongoing thing. But yeah, so the most difficult thing, and I moved right into the thing that's helped me, because it's obviously like, it's when it's something is difficult, like you want to know how you
Right.
can have help. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. That's really, really helpful, especially for those of us who I have never actually had EMDR therapy. I've tried other therapies, so that really helps me understand, like, go behind the scenes on your experience and healing it. And that also reminds me of somatic experience therapy, which also goes back to the memory and the physiological response that we have. So again, we wanted to talk about generational trauma because some of the symptoms do include hypervigilance, a sense of shortened future, mistrust, aloofness, high anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. So if you're a fellow Latina like us and you've experienced any of these things, the overthinking and the worrying and like, how am I going to do this? Is my family okay? Da, 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 like all that stuff could be a sign of some generational trauma. And we want to make sure that, you know, you're not alone, that it's what you're going through is normal, but it doesn't have to be your life. It doesn't have to be the rest of your life. You don't have to keep staying angry, staying anxious, staying depressed, staying in these altered states, right? So that's why we're having these conversations, and we're so appreciative and grateful for you joining. And also, please, you know, after the fact, share this with your circle, share this with another Latina who might also be going through the healing journey or afraid to go see a therapist, because in our culture, you know, you don't want to put your trapos sucios out there. But really it's different. It really changes your life, and it really can bring a sense of peace and calm into your everyday life, where you don't have to be continuously anxious, angry, or triggered. So
I want to say one more thing. We can talk about this honestly all night.
yeah.
But I do want to say two things. Number one, I know that you know, you and I are Latinas, but honestly, like, children of immigrants from any third world country, any country that's been ravaged by war, we all can experience this, and we all tend to feel like just because we're strong enough to carry it doesn't mean that we have to. We
Right.
don't have to carry it alone. It is normal to have these problems. And, you know, capitalism doesn't want you to think that, you know, like, that there's any other way to live, but there is. And so I'm just super thankful that I have been on this journey for long enough. And I'm finally, like, for the first time in my life, I'm at a place where I can say that I have felt peace. And I'll tell you that
Perhaps.
when I first started feeling like, I'll snap for myself here too, because as the first time I started to feel peace,
I could cry.
I was like, I was suspicious. I didn't cry. I was suspicious. I was like,
why the fuck am I so calm right now?
I was like, wait, like, what is this? I felt like it was empty or something. You know, I was like, am I empty? Because, like, the mind is not racing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, what Veronica was saying, you know, if you're constantly overthinking things, there's your sign. So, and one last thing before I know we're gonna wrap this up soon. Sirius Bloom sent me these earrings, and they came in super clutch. I never got a chance to post a thank you for her beautiful care package. Back in March, I got like a couple of care packages, and I never got a chance to post any of it. But thank you so much for joining us and for allowing me to for like helping me, you know, look more presentable right now. So that's all.
Oh, thank you guys for joining. Marcella, Yoselin, I see you. Thank you so much. And let's continue to share and have a conversation. I know you are also on your healing journeys, and we are all here to support each other. And I'm so happy and honored. Thank you so much for your time today. And we will be back next week, maybe at a different time. Maybe we're going to rethink this. But stay tuned to watch this, watch the replay, and for the upcoming episodes, we are here to be of service. So DM us any questions or comments that you have. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you next time.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.